All right, bit of a casual office recording for you guys today. I'm just on a bit of a lunch break, about to go to the gym. Just wanted to take some time just to tell you guys about the call in Madrid and how much fun it was and everything that happened. I was honestly just too tired during both days of the event and the day I got home to really give any feedback on the event. Then normally I like to do those after event videos for you guys, but unfortunately this time I couldn't. So, call in Madrid. How did it go? How was it? Now, I took the very brave option to save my holiday time by going first thing on Friday morning. So the tournament started at 2 o'clock. My flight was at 8 a.m. from the UK, 7 a.m. Spanish time. I was supposed to land at 11:30. If the flight was delayed by more than an hour and a half, I would miss the tournament, but thankfully it wasn't delayed at all. So we got in at 12:30. Show up, get 6 packs. Really big hall, decent aircon, no real food available. There was a canteen that was really overpriced and not great, but to be honest, once you knew that, you just brought snacks and loads of water with you. I'm not paying €4 for a small bottle of water when I can get big litre bottles for €1.50 from the gas station nearby. I'm not doing that, but so the food options weren't great, but everything else was fine. Got a booster packs. I didn't open any spice the entire weekend, so don't be like, did you get any Fables? Did you get any cold foils? I got nothing. I got Majestics. I did get 5 Majestics from 9 packs, so I was above rate on Majestics, but anything better than that didn't come my way. But so the event was there. I think we had about 500-600 people for the premiere event. Really good event, smoothly run. Was really fun just playing with the new heroes, see everything for the first time. People made mistakes, lots of small issues and things with the new cards, all to be expected, all perfectly normal. Most got sorted out fine. Then, of course, the next day we went in for the team calling Blitz. I was on Oldhim, Fatigue Oldhim. I've played it before. I haven't had much time to practice, so I said, look, I'll just play that deck. I think I can handle it, and I can play it quickly. Then my other teammates were on Kasai and Ryder. Started off the first game, my team went 1-1, and we were basically going in towards a draw on me versus a Kasai. The Kasai had 4 cards left in his deck, so in his hand, and I had 20, but I was starting to run low on life. Personally, I think I win that game, but he was about to do a blood on his hands turn, or blood on her hands turn, so he thinks he could have won that game. But unfortunately, if we'd had an extra 2 or 3 minutes, we might have been able to find out. We didn't. Time was called. There was no resolution. My opponent was starting to talk about how he could kill me. I'm like, no, we're just going to draw. Draws are better than losses for most players on average, right? So that was round 1. Round 2, I get paired up against the Dash. I fatigue them nice and easy, but my team wins the other 2 games. Next round, again, I think I get a Katsu. Fatigue them, that's fine. Unfortunately, my team loses the other 2 rounds. And that's kind of the story for the rest of the tournament. I had another Dash, another Kasai, a Chain, and something else. I don't think I lost a game for the next 4 rounds we played. I just kept fatiguing people. The deck felt really solid. My deck was basically the battle-hardened list from the from the Pro Tour, but I took out the Null Rune Robe and replaced it with the Heart of Ice. Obviously, why not? It's a free upgrade. And then I also took out a Winter's Bite Blue and replaced it with the Heart of Fiendal, which gained me about 10 life in the course of the day. So it was actually quite good in the end. And once people saw I had Heart, they also started making weird plays, like taking life to go below me and stuff like that, which they didn't need to do to turn off my Heart. So it was like, I don't know, I just got kind of free efficiency from the Heart, to be honest. You can see I've kind of caught the sun there. You see freckles, they come out in the sunshine. So after that, we just all decided to drop because there was this Blitz Showdown event happening. And we were just like, well, this Blitz Showdown event looks like it's got really good pricing. So if you made top 8, you got 150 quid. If you made top 4, you got 250. If you made the final, you got 500, which was amazing. And also, there was just loads of tickets on the line as well for the prize wall. So it was really good. I was actually quite surprised because they were saying not that many people were signing up. And I think they expected a lot more people to drop from the calling to play that. But a lot of people were having too much fun playing the Blitz calling who wanted to drop for the other event. So we're sort of sitting in a situation where people are having too much fun playing with their friends. They don't want to drop. So this Blitz Showdown side event that they expected to be 150, 200 people only had 40 people in with really, really good pricing. So there's two kind of things I want to explore about that. I think this is very interesting, is that in my opinion, Team Blitz has solved the Blitz format in constructed play for me. I never want to play solo Blitz again where you have a blowout game and you just lose. I really enjoyed Blitz because when my game was finished, I was still invested in the other games around me. Even though I was playing the slowest deck, I did still win first sometimes, just when people rushed towards fatigue. And I was still invested in what was going on. It made the rounds feel weightier. It made the rounds also feel more under control. It made me feel more like if my team had played better, we would have won overall. You do still have bad pairings in terms of you just get paired up against the one person on the other team you don't want to play. But in general, I feel like Team Blitz has kind of fixed and solved the issues with the Blitz format for very competitive play in my mind. I would definitely go to another Team Blitz calling event. Don't think I would go for just a Blitz calling event. I've seen that sentiment echoed a few other places as well. I really feel like Team Blitz is the way forward if you want to run Blitz. I also wouldn't mind, to be honest, going to a Team CC event. I think that would be fun. I think that's something that LSS could consider. But I would understand that might take longer, with the rounds potentially taking longer just to get everyone sorted. But you know what? Playing team games felt really good. So I really think for Blitz, that should be the way forward. I'm thinking about running one in London. The other thing to unpack, of course, is that, and I'm not the only one who thought that, because as I said, so many people were enjoying the format, playing with their friends. They didn't drop to play the side event, right? The thing to know about the side event is that there's no way the prizes shouldn't have been scaling, right? We did the maths, and between the amount that the prize paid out and the prize tickets, both Tournament Center and LSS lost money on that, on running that event, which is fine. It's supposed to be a big flagship event for everyone who's fallen out of the calling to make sure they've still got something to aim for and they still get something out of their weekend, even though they got bad luck in the calling. But it just felt like, and everyone was saying this, that the prices were just so generous. For a 40-person event, there was £2,000 on the line for the top 8, plus about 8,000 prize tickets, and that's just a staggering amount for what is a 40-person event, a side event at the calling. So I kind of gave that feedback to Tournament Center that it kind of felt over generous, and I think if they had had a scaling prize system where it scaled down if less than say 40 people signed up, and scaled up if you got more than 100 or more than 60, people would have understood that and they would have been happy with their prizes. As it is, I entered that event. I went 2-0 and then ran back-to-back into 2 Rydars, who I promptly lost to because Fatigue Oldhim gets crushed by Rydar. And then I didn't drop another game for the rest of the event. So I went, undefeated. I will say thank you to my last round opponent. We were going to play it out, but it was an Oldhim mirror and neither of us really wanted to play it. And we just looked at where the standings were and he was on 16 and I was on 10. And I was like, you can't make the top cut. I will. Do we want to play this fatigue game or do you just want to call it a day? And he was like, if I can't make it in, let's just call it a day. And he just walked away and, it was fine. It was like, why put ourselves through an hour of fatigue if he can't make the top cut and I can? So thank you to him for that. That was very gracious of him. And also, the first game of the top cut was a Bravo versus Oldhim mirror sort of fatigue game. So it went on for about an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. I think I lost track of time. We went down to like 4 cards in each deck. He ran out before me, but I already had 4 cards left as well, just because Oldhim is much better at blocking more efficiently, even into the hammer. That was really the case of... we had to play that game out and the judges were understanding that it did mean the tournament was running on quite late. So once we played the semi-finals, which didn't take as long, thankfully, because I was playing... so the semi-finals, I played against the Fatigue Bravo. So I had to play a very, very long, slow game. Just grind it out. The second match was against an aggro Bravo, who Oldhim is much, much more favoured into, so that felt okay. The game happened and finished quite quickly, but at this point, we're kind of running 2 hours behind schedule, and the Dash opponent that I was playing against was like, realistically, he's built OTK Dash with maximum velocity, which is actually a bad matchup for Oldhim, because he'll just get the Teklo Pounders and the Teklo Cores and stuff on the table, set up a massive maximum velocity turn, and then he can drop you from 20 to 0 in 1 turn. It's actually a very, very good deck for killing Fatigue Oldhim, but he may not actually get that set up fast enough to deal with the hammer, the disruption, all the stuff that comes in before he gets fatigued. So things don't necessarily line up for him. And if they don't line up properly, then he still can't win, right? So I technically have the favoured point in that matchup. He understands that. So we agree to a 60-40 price split of the difference between first and second, right? So basically, if you make the finals, the person who won got $500 and 2,400 prize tickets, and the person who came second got $500 and 1,200 prize tickets. So we just agreed to a split of the difference. We both got 1,200, and then I took 8,800 and he took 400, because we reckoned that was where the matchup was, around 60-40. So we just agreed to a split so everyone could go home. Judges wanted to go home. We all wanted to go home. And it was a good thing that I did that, because just as that game was wrapping up, a friend of mine came over and said, hey, I bought a box, because there wasn't product on sale from vendors and stores at the event, but some people had won boxes on Friday, and also some of the judges had been paid early because they were leaving. So they got their boxes, and they were getting, I think, 3 Uprising and 3 Tales of Aria. So they got their boxes early. And of course, as a private individual, not as a store, you are allowed to sell any boxes you get early, as long as you've got them. I mean, you get them through a legitimate channel. It doesn't really matter how you got them, as long as, I mean, if a store breaks release date, obviously that store's going to get in trouble, but you as a private individual aren't. So the judges were able to sell on their boxes, and the going rate was about $100 for €100 for a box, £100. No one was paying a super premium for the boxes, because you're going to get them in 2 weeks anyway. You're going to get as much as you want. There's multiple waves of this set coming out. It makes no sense to pay £300-400 for a box just to get it early, but people were willing to pay £25 extra, £30 extra, just to get that draft ability on that day. So immediately after playing 5 rounds of the team event, and then playing 9 rounds of the side event and winning, I then went and played 3 rounds of the draft. I drafted 5. It was a fantastic experience, just playing until like 11:30, 12 o'clock in the hotel lobby. And you're just thinking, I've played Fab since 9 a.m. this morning. This has been a fantastic day. I will say that might have been a little bit too much, because the next day we went into the Battle Hardened with Classic Constructed. I took Starvo, who I'm not super practiced on. I've only played him at 1 ProQuest, but I didn't really want to play Prism Fatigue into the field, so I thought I'll just play Stavro. So I took Stavro, and it was fine. I mean, I played 6 rounds. I won 3. I lost 3. I had some very close games early on in the tournament in the Swiss, which I would have liked to have later on, because I would have just liked to have those harder matchups later on. I was hoping for a few more easy pairings early on, the way Swiss always is. And sometimes if you get a really hard game, it can be like you're playing a 5-0 game when you're both 1-0, and the loss there is really impactful, but your opponent is going to do well. So you're kind of like in a situation where you've got paired up against the guy you want to play in the last round, in the first round, and the second round, and then you just get these losses, and they just kind of put you in your place for the rest of the day. So I went 3-3 in that, but of course that was fine, because I didn't really want to play a top card or anything like that, because there was the massive draft starting at 4 o'clock as well. So then we turned around and played in the massive draft. I drafted Dromai, and so we had made the decision to save on hotel costs and holiday, basically to fly back on Friday night. And the venue was great. It was only 5 minutes from the airport, but the problem was that we basically had to leave as soon as we could. And we've been told there might be security problems and delays at Madrid. There weren't, thankfully, but we were told there might be. And it turned out to be the right decision anyway, because there were food delays on the inside. There were some of the machines were broken at the Burger King and places like that, so we actually had a big queue to get food, so we didn't really actually have that much free time in the end. But the point is that we had to go, and I had drafted this amazing Dromai deck. I've sent pictures of it out to people on my Discord and things like that, and really I think I could have taken that deck 3-0, but the last game I kind of just punted because I was rushing, so I was taking damage more than I should be, in order to push damage. And I had 5 dragons on the board, and I think I had a much better draft deck than my opponent in the last round. He still won, but I took a load of damage and then didn't even threaten lethal, because I was my brain was already at the airport and at the point where I needed to go, so I wasn't really trying to play as hard, and I definitely should have just blocked and attacked back with my 5 dragons, and I would have won the grind game. I just didn't have time for a grind game, so that's what it is. And that was the end of the event. I came home, I got home. Unfortunately, there was a delay on the plane flight back, so I missed the last tube, and then had to get a taxi back. Whatever, I got home at 1:30. But genuinely, I had an amazing weekend. The Flesh and Blood community is just fantastic. My roommate, Dan Vandenberg, was the person who was dressed up as Fiendel as Spring Tunic, won the cosplay contest. He was super stoked about that. I will say, Europe, you kind of need to step up your game. Dan is very new to cosplaying. His costume is fantastic. But I would have liked, and also he said this himself, he would have liked to see and have some actual competition at the event. He was a bit disappointed that he was the only person entering. Delighted to win, of course, but he told me, if I had lost to someone who had a better costume, I would have been okay with it. It was just kind of disappointing that there was no other entries, so I just won by default. But he was really pleased. And one of the things that he said was quite good is that they got a professional or someone who does quite a lot of cosplay to review him and be the judge for the tournament. And they gave him a score out of 20. And they gave him ranks in different categories, right? So that was actually a really good experience for him because they were giving him suggestions, ideas, things that he could do better. They were giving him marks on his seamstress work and his quality, his materials, and his representation of the character. So it's good to see that they have taken into consideration that it's not just enough to give a winner or a loser. It is really good to give feedback and criticism, as well as sort of constructive qualitative feedback to people so they can improve their cosplay as well. And it's good to hear there's a scale that can tell you which places you have room to improve in. And that's just a really good system, and I'm glad that they're taking it seriously. And also, let's point out that one thing they did very, very well, which is that in New Jersey, they didn't pause the calling to do the costume contest. At this time, they did the costume contest just before lunch ended. So there was 15 minutes to go until the next round. They did it over the lunch break, and that meant that everyone could stay and see the costume contest happening, which was great because we could support him. But also just that he didn't have to drop around or do anything weird just to participate in the costume contest. So that's 100% needs to be the standard for every single tournament. You can't have the costume contest going on in the middle of the event. It's not fair to people who want to cosplay and play in the event. So that's good. That is definitely something they should do. And he, of course, gets his tailor and loads of swag and a trophy. And, if people want a tailor, maybe you should start doing cosplay in Europe. Maybe you should give him some competition. The field is wide open. There's definitely room for more cosplayers in Europe to compete and to show off their stuff and maybe get a tailor. I know he's definitely going to the Pro Tour in New Jersey to get another one. So maybe you should offer him some competition, or just let him walk away with it. That's up to you. Anyway, I don't want to go into it too much. That was my experience. Just a fantastic event. Playing the Uprising premiere felt really good. You'll see just a few things. You'll see I'm doing a survey on judging feedback. I have heard from various sources that there were some sort of troublesome judge calls, maybe a bit of friction here and there. So I kind of just want to evaluate that and acknowledge that. So far I have 20 responses. Majority of feedback has been positive. There have been a few instances and things that I'm going to flag up in a video at the end of this week. But if you want to fill that out, you can find it on the Discords, on my Discord, on the Fab Discord, in the calling channels for Madrid, Las Vegas, Sydney. Just search for my recent posts, that kind of thing. Also, of course, just because I can plug it now, the Discord is there. If you want to join the community and talk to me in there, I do talk a bit in there. I give play-by-play updates on how my tournaments are going. I talk about things I've drafted, lists and advice and things like that. I also give specific guidelines to my Patreons who, for example, this morning woke up to a early limited review and guidelines for limited for Uprising based on my experiences over the weekend. Obviously, I've done 1 sealed and 2 drafts, so it's not a hugely comprehensive guide, but it does go into detail about what I think the main draft strategy is and sealed strategy is for each of the heroes, what their key cards are, what you should be looking to decide whether or not you're drafting or playing that particular sealed pool, as well as showing people my draft pools from the weekend, which I think is going to be very, very useful. So that kind of content is slowly coming out on my Patreon. And of course, I let people ask me any questions they want over there. Otherwise, super excited for the pre-releases this weekend. Happy to record another one of these casual videos. I just like talking to you guys, even if it's not with all the intro music and all that kind of stuff. I just like to sit down and talk when I have a bit of a moment. So going to get back to work. Have a great day wherever you are, and I hope you really enjoy your pre-releases this weekend. I think it's a fantastic set. I'm really super hyped for Uprising. All the cards just feel really good. It feels like a really engaged and active limited format, and actually had some really fantastic games. They weren't just like 2-3 3-round games. They were really sort of controlled, and there was lots of different bits going on, especially when Iyslander is involved, and you have to kind of play around that arcane damage without arcane barrier, but it still felt like, unlike Tales of Aria, the arcane damage, because it was the only source of damage from the opponent, still felt like it was balanced in a certain way around the tempo of the game and the speed of the game, rather than just blowing you out because it's like, oh, here's 7 and 1 arcane, right? You just have to take the arcane, it just adds up. And Rosetta Thorn coming in for 2, as well as more physical damage on top of what you've already done. Because Iyslander is only arcane, it doesn't feel so bad. Anyway, more on that, because I will be doing a full video on what I think about limited Uprising. I'll be giving some tips for the pre-release before this weekend, and of course next week after I've played the pre-releases, and also we're organising a draft with the participation prizes that people are getting from our pre-release, because we're giving out 3 packs to everyone, so we're going to do a draft with the packs afterwards for people who want to. So, you know, once I've done a few more drafts, and we're going to be drafting a lot for the next few weeks, obviously there'll be more of an in-depth limited set review coming out, but for the moment I'm going to give my feedback before the weekend, so people can have an idea of what to prepare for the pre-release and how to get their decks sorted. So thanks a lot for listening. Have a great time wherever you are.